What's up, YouTube? This is True Raw 4 TV. So, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with Trump as far as his legal situation is concerned. It looks pretty dire, but I need to see it to believe it as far as a former president going to prison, to be really, truly held accountable for his actions. I need to see it to believe it. Okay. Having said all of that, I see that what is her name? Christy Lake has won the Republican nomination for governor of Arizona. Okay. She won. She was a Trump-backed candidate. She is an election denier, as all Trump-backed candidates are. She's a right-wing extremist. Her coalition is made up of far right-wing extremists, Nazi sympathizers, white supremacists, far right-wing conspiracy nut jobs, and she will be running against, I think, Katie Hobbs, who will be the Democratic nominee in November. My instincts tell me that Hobbs will probably win a narrow victory in Arizona. I think that a lot of her skeletons, when I talk about Lake's skeletons will come out. More about her will come out. The mainstream media leans liberal, as we all know that. That may play a slight factor in how both candidates are being represented. But even though this is an off-year election, and usually the party out of power does better in off-term elections, especially the first off-term election for presidential administration. But I think that Hobbs will probably win, if I had to just guess. But this is the thing I want to talk about. You know, the Republican Party, it doesn't surprise me the state that they're in right now as far as being election-denying kooks. And it's because the Republican Party, as bad as both parties are, the Republican Party has lost touch with the average American. Okay? While they still do remarkably well in rural areas of the country where, not to be rude, but education, science are not necessarily high on the list, logical thinking. They still do well in certain areas, but for the most part, the Republican Party has faltered long ago in urban areas. And one area where they did very well for several decades, from the 70s into the 90s, suburbia, they're slipping there. They're slipping in the suburb areas. So it's not surprising that it's been 18 years since a presidential candidate on the Republican Party has won a majority of the popular vote. It's not surprising that when you look at Bush in 2000, right, in a very close election, he lost the national popular vote in a very close electoral college vote. He lost the national popular vote to Al Gore by only 540,000 votes, right? Wasn't surprising. Why? Because at that time, even though California and New York were trending Democratic, it still was common for Republicans to win at least 40 to 45% of the vote in those states. Now, in those two states, Republicans will be lucky to get 30 to 35% of the popular vote. And they're falling behind in other states. Illinois used to be a swing state. Illinois, because of the huge margins that Democrats pile up in Cook County area alone, million plus votes, those states tend to go 55-45, 57-43 Democratic. Urban areas, no matter how small and concentrated they may be on a map, house hundreds and thousands, in some cases millions of registered voters. And Democrats are winning these areas by large margins, while Republicans, it looks impressive on a map how many counties they win. There's nobody living there, all right? Nobody's living in these fucking areas. And that's why, as powerful an army, as formidable as Donald Trump is, he's never gotten more, even as a sitting president, he never gotten more than 47% of the vote. So because Republicans are becoming increasingly unable to win in broad areas or broad swaths of areas, they had to resort to cheating over the years. Gerrymandering, purposely rigging districts so that the districts that they're in, that their candidates represent, 80, 90% Caucasian. That wasn't always the case. When blacks were finally allowed to vote freely in the mid-1960s, many of these southern districts that had once been, totally off limits to blacks voting, now all of a sudden they had to bring in worry about the concerns of black citizens. They had to worry about the concerns of minority citizens. That wasn't the case anymore after gerrymandering, And of course, when that isn't enough anymore, as is the case, now they just have to do even more insidious things, which is pretty much make it harder to vote, discourage people from voting, and just cheating. Cheating and lying. Lying about, if they don't win an election, then it was voter fraud. It's bullshit. This motherfucker, Christy Lake, I think that's her name, right? Almost called her Ricky Lake. Christy Lake, even though she won, she still tried to cry voter fraud. That's what totalitarian leaders do. When they don't win, they cry election fraud. If they don't win, it's the process. They can't accept losing. And if they lost, then there's something wrong with the system. If they win, it's democracy. Fuck these people, man. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to do this video because I want to make it clear I'm not on either side. I don't fuck with Biden. I don't fuck with Trump. Fuck both parties.